And as soon as I saw June pop her ass up, I knew Daisy's death certificate had been signed.
Get it, don't be timid when you in it, plot it. Love a bone, give along, lead it. I don't want no trip, baby, say like
My name is Ashley, and this is My Sweet Perspective, where I give my take on all things TV and movie related, and I am here to put you on, okay? You guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. Listen, the show is out. The show is here. The show is ready to be discussed, and I cannot wait to get into it. I am talking The Testaments, y'all, premiered with a 3-episode drop on Hulu, and listen, this is what I've been needing. Like I said, TV has been feeding me this week, and this was no different. This was the most amazing premiere. And the only note I really have, honestly, is that y'all dropped these 3 episodes all at once. Baby, I want 10 full weeks of this. I want 10 full weeks of this, but I'll have to settle for 8, and it's fine. Anyway, welcome back, Sweet Peas. I hope you're having the most amazing day and you're ready to get into all of it. But to give some background, and definitely go check out my Handmaid's Tale playlist. I covered the last season of Handmaid's Tale, so that should catch you up to where we are if you haven't watched it or you just kind of want an overview of what was happening in Handmaids. But real quick, for anyone who hasn't watched, The Testaments is the sequel, right? Series based on Margaret Atwood's 2019 novel. Same Gilead, new generation, new points of view. This was created for TV by Bruce Miller, executive produced by Elizabeth Moss, with 10 total episodes. New episodes come out every Wednesday through May 27th, all right? So just putting that there. Now, as far as The Handmaid's Tale, to give you background and what everybody's saying in terms of like the showrunner, what Bruce has said, this is not a direct adaptation, okay? There are major changes, not only to characters, but timelines and all of that. In the books, we catch up after the events of Handmaid's Tale. It's been 15 years. In the series, it's 4 years. In the book, Daisy is actually June and Nick's child, okay? Here, that is not the case. So that's not what it is. She's totally different. They have done a merging of certain characters. So if you've read the books, great, but it's not going to be an exact adaptation. They have made major changes. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. All right. So now that we've got all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into episode 1, which I think was a pristine episode entitled Precious Flowers. Now, I was really uncertain about how we were going to get here and what it was going to be like. Is the world going to feel the same? Are we, is it going to be as intense and as raw? And it is. I fear if we were emotionally wrecked by Handmaid's Tale, I feel like it's over here. I really do, because you have this really true expression of innocence with these young girls and their experiences in Gilead. Most of them, being fairly, well, extremely sheltered, right? But then with this heinous backdrop that they've learned to adjust to or perceive as normality. And I really feel like everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket, and I'm just here for the ride. All right. So again, Precious Flowers, we open and we are immediately dropped into the world of Gilead through young eyes. And I love this framing so much. We've got our girls, the Plums. This is the group that Agnes is a part of. Agnes is Hannah. Daisy in the book is Nicole. So we've got our girls, the Plums, and here's how it works in Aunt Lydia's prep school, because now she's the big boss, honey. She's been deified. They have a statue of her in the main quarters, but I think there's more to Aunt Lydia than meets the eye, right? And so here's how it works. For pink is for the young babies, the young girls. Plums are the girls who are basically preteens to teens. They're just getting ready to turn green, okay? And then the greens, when you get pinned, that means you've gotten your cycle and basically you're being introduced to society, and now you are ready to marry a commander or whoever they deem is best for you, right? Because Gilead is absolutely going to make sure everyone knows your body's business, right? Our handmaids were in red. We knew what that represented, the blood. Listen, they're going to color code some stuff, right? And so we come in, and Becca is Agnes's best friend, and we meet her early on, and Becca is odd the whole entire, time that we've met her in these couple of episodes. And I've had, I'm kind of giving her side eye, but it'll make sense in later episodes a little bit, right? But she's becoming green. And again, the jury's out about Becca at this point, and we're already worried. The Plums get field trips, and do not let that sound fun. Okay. The field trips aren't fun. It's to see the hanging people. It's to buy his hand somebody, right? The violence that we saw amongst the handmaids is here as well, but I think it hits harder because these are children. These are children. God's justice is beautiful. That's what these girls are told, and they believe it because this is all they have ever known. That is what makes this show hit different from The Handmaid's Tale. We are actually inside with young women who've lived their entire lives in Gilead versus the handmaids who we saw their journey. We saw where they came from. They had lives, pre-existing lives before Gilead. But these babies, this is literally all they know. So immediately we meet Agnes, aka Hannah, June's daughter, played by Chase Infinity, and she's already delivering. I don't think this could have been casted any better. She is doing an amazing job capturing this character. And again, it can be so hard, especially with a successful series like The Handmaid's Tale, to come behind it with a sequel and it still have the same impact. It still makes you care about the new characters. But listen, they ate it up over here. Now she's fully raised inside of Gilead. She has her husband or her father, who she absolutely loves. It seems, right? Because we don't see a lot of close connection between them in these first 3 episodes. And then she has a mama, Paula, but I'm going to call her Mommy Dearest for the purpose of these reviews. And if you're new here, I don't call these people by their character names all the time. All right. So a couple of people already have nicknames. So just bear with me. What I will try to do in the description is give you the real character's name and what they will be known as by me in my reviews for the remainder of this season. Okay. But yeah, she's already an immediate demon. Okay. But again, there are already cracks forming. We kind of see her in this first episode question some things, not verbally, but we can see it in her body language. We can see it in her facial expressions. We can see all of that. Now, Aunt Lydia, the iconic Ann Dowd, is back again, and she has her eye on Agnes specifically. I've been watching you, girl. And why you been watching, Aunt Lydia? This is fishy. This is fishy. This is fishy. If I don't know any better, I know Aunt Lydia is on our side. I know after last season of Handmaid's Tale, Aunt Lydia is on our side. I feel it. Feel it deep down on the inside in my shanana. All right. But I need to know why, Auntie. What are you planning? What do you have up your sleeve? And we have Shunammite, played by Rowan Blanchard, who's already getting on my nerves. Now, if you know anything about, biblical history or whatever, and who the Shunammite woman was, this was a woman who opened her house to the prophet whose son died, and the prophet heals, but she lived a really pious life and loved the prophet and provided. So I'm very interested to see if the name has anything to do with how this character will show up here. But yeah, anyway, at this point, Aunt Lydia, now that we're getting to school and figuring all of this out, we find out that, of course, Aunt Lydia, like I said, has a statue. She's really been deified. She's the greatest to ever done it. And this school is entirely hers, and her responsibility are these babies, okay? She genuinely seems to care about these girls. And we know Aunt Lydia, and she has a storied past, and she was such a nuanced and complex character that for everything, the harsh abuses and all of that, she had a soft spot for the women in some way, right? All the while being, dutiful to Gilead. She genuinely seems to care about the girls, and she loves her power, and that tension is going to carry the whole season. And then we meet the Pearl Girls. The Pearl Girls are an offset. So in addition to the pinks, the plums, and the greens, we have the Pearl Girls who wear white. Now, these are girls who have basically been recruited by missionary trips outside of Gilead, and they're bringing new girls in. All right. Now, these are usually the spies, honey. They tell on the pinks, the plums, and the greens. They get you in trouble. They're not to be trusted. But we meet one that's definitely going to be trusted. Okay. So they arrive in their white robes, and Aunt Lydia announces that Daisy is a precious pearl joining the class, and she basically wants Agnes to be her keeper. You're going to show her around. You're going to be her shepherdess. And I'm thinking immediately, okay, this was constructed. All right. This is not by happenstance. Aunt Lydia is not a dummy. She knows exactly what she's doing, but what is her motive behind it? We meet one of the aunties, Aunt Vidala, who is a demon, and her name forever henceforth will be called Mother Superior. She is a straight up menace. Between her and Paula, Agnes is surrounded by demons. And let's get to Paula. Again, Paula is the stepmother who really can't stand Agnes, wants her out of the house immediately so she can have it fully to her husband. Just backhanded compliments, just nasty and mean to the staff. Just a terrible, 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 terrible person. Not her wanting to put my favorite Martha out to pasture because she hurt her leg. Because when my daddy's horse hurt his leg, he took him out back and shot him because listen, it was a mercy. What? This is a person, not a horse. Paula is going to be a demon. I fear she's going to be worse than Serena Joy, but we shall see. Hulda is part of the friend group as well, and I love Hulda down bad. I do. I love her. I love her. I love her. I love her so much immediately. I just feel so drawn to her, and I don't know why. But you guys drop it in the comments and let me know, what do you think of this Hulda character? Who is she going to be? But she was a prophetess in the Bible. So I'm wondering if we're going to be getting any insight from her throughout the season. I can't wait. So now we meet Daisy, who is a Pearl girl, all right, played by Lucy Halliday. And she is not assimilating no matter how hard she tries to look like she is. She is from Toronto, Canada, and had a whole entire normal life before this. She stands up and performs the scripts that they gave her about Toronto being consumed by Satan, and I could see right through every single word of it. As soon as you meet Daisy, you know nothing is as it appears, but we love her. And then there's a man at the school in episode 1, a guardian who's out there pleasuring himself on the ground. And again, normally I'm not with the violence, but what are you doing that with all these little girls here for? By his hand, damn it. And now this is when we really get to see the girls and their rage fully enacted. When I tell you that Agnes is screaming the loudest during this, screaming the loudest. They saw this man's hat off. Daisy runs out because what the freak is going on? What the F was that? She says. And of course, Agnes hears her cussing and using the Lord's name in vain, but she's like, you know what? It's between us. I'm not going to say nothing. We don't keep it cute. Now, mind you, they've told her, everybody's told her, Shuna might even said, don't trust her, set her up. Set her up immediately and get her out of here because she's going to get you in trouble. She's going to set you up. And Agnes is like, I can't do that. So again, we're in the first episode, really kind of seeing who Agnes is with not a lot of script per se, but actually just kind of seeing how she's weighing all of these situations that she's placed in this first episode. Even when she's screaming about the guardian having his arm sawed off, she's screaming vehemently, but after, she's looking puzzled and confused and like, why am I really doing this? And I don't know, it's just an interesting dynamic. And so ultimately, when Agnes doesn't report anything, Daisy says, all right, Agnes, you want to play games? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to report it. I'm going to confess. And Agnes is like, has to punish her because, we do the group punishment thing. She gets in trouble here and is called a dirty girl. And in the middle of it, Daisy's like, but Agnes knew. And they said, oh, not the shepherdess knew. You knew what she was doing and you didn't say anything. Next scene we see, they're both in there with their soap toothpaste going to town. Rub-a-dub-dub-dub-dub. And Agnes is like, damn it. How I get in it? I was saving you. But again, I really think this is what we had to do. Daisy knew what to do. She's a smart cookie, and I'm glad she's here. Now, the end of episode 1 is where you're immediately shook. Okay, because again, at this point, we're meeting the girls, we're figuring out the dynamic, we're finding the ways, at this level of Gilead. And when we go to bed, she done found a Walkman. Where she found this Walkman at, I do not know. She must have had it hidden up somewhere. And she lays down and tunes into 99.2 FM Mayday radio. And we find out that she's part of the resistance. And then we get a flashback. Cranberries, she's in Canada. And come out, little freedom fighter. She was a skater girl. They said, see you later, girl. And June in the bookshop. Seal it up. Bye, Daisy. I don't know how you're going to last. I don't know how long you're going to last. But what I do know is June will sacrifice anybody and anybody. Anybody and everybody. Baby, if she comes into your orbit, she's going to use you. And 9 times out of 10, you are going to die. Episode 1, completely 10 out of 10. But June, listen, and y'all think I hate June. If you watch my Handmaids, I explained I don't hate her. I think she was a terrible mother to baby Nicole. I just feel that way, but she's an amazing freedom fighter and revolutionary. And I think that both of those can be true. One thing she'll never do is forget about baby Hannah, aka Agnes. That's one thing she will never do. She will fight, like she said, she'll fight to her dying breath to get her out. And anybody can get this work. That's what they said in the super trailer. Anybody can get it. You don't know what I'm capable of. Baby, they don't, June. And I fear for them more than I fear for you. But I'm strapped in, y'all. I'm excited. And at the very end of the episode, I'm sorry, I almost left that out. We find out that the blood has come for baby Agnes, baby Hannah, Agnes Anna. Agnes Anna? Is that what we're going to call her? Agnes Anna. The blood has come. She's now a woman. I was a woman now. And we're going to see where that goes. But now, going into episode 2, Perfect Teeth, Paula's like, great. You got your menstrual. Aunt Flo is in town. Baby, it's time to get you ready and get this face together because the teeth aren't working. We want you to be marketable. We want you to have the pick of the litter, sister. So come on to the dentist. Now, we have to go get her teeth whitened in Gilead. And again, this speaks to the conformity, the way that we want things, the perfection, the idea of perfection, what things look like. Because, of course, this is going to be an arranged marriage. And I think the teeth are a deeper metaphor for, who the girls have to be. It's not just about your teeth being perfect, it's about you being perfect and how you're going to move throughout this world. But now it's time, and she's got to go to the highest bidder. But first, the dentist. So we go see the damn dentist, and the dentist is Becca's damn daddy. And I'm already looking at Becca sideways. But he's like, you're just such a great girl. And I hope you can stay, looking out for my Becca. You've been so amazing. You've been so great to her. And you're maturing, and I'm about to put the what they put on you when you're getting any sort of testing in the imaging, that weighted plate or whatever to protect you. Puts that on. He's like, oh yeah, let me know if it's uncomfortable. I don't want to hurt your breasts. And as he's putting it on, he's filling her up. I said, oh, he's a Chester. He's a Chester molester. And of course, she just takes it because, what am I going to do? But I know exactly who he is, what demon he is. And I think he's done stuff to Becca. I think that's why Becca's the way she is. But y'all drop it in the comments and let me know what your theories are on that. Because that was not okay. So in this episode, we also learn about Tabitha, who was Agnes Hannah's first mother in Gilead, and that she really loved her, right? She loved her as much as I guess one could love a child in this regime. But she passed of a disease. I believe, was it cancer, y'all? They always giving everybody cancer. And we also learn a little bit more about Rosa, who is the Martha that Agnes loves and sits up at night with and has conversations, and somebody again who really loves her. Rosa cared for Tabitha on her deathbed. And so in the final days in the household, these women, Tabitha, Rosa, represent genuine love for Agnes within Gilead. And I'm scared something's going to happen to Rosa, y'all. Can I say that? Can I say that? Can I say that? But yeah, so Tabitha seemed to be a good mom until her passing. But also, we find out that she had left something for Agnes Hannah that Paula gives to her. I guess it's for the menstrual stuff. I don't know. I never seen nothing like it. But drop it in the comments and let me think. Let me know what you thought of that scene. I thought it was actually really, really touching. But Paula's still a demon. I don't care that she gave it to her. I don't. I really want something to happen to her already. And that's how I feel. Something is very wrong with Becca. So we know Becca has been fitted for her, her greens and all of those things. And now she's on the market, honey. She's got to dance. She's got to get fitted for that dress for the dance. But she's very odd. It's just giving such a weird vibe between she and Agnes. And I'm really questioning, like, are y'all friends? Like, she's looking at her crazy. It's very weird. But Shunammite is in full shade mode. And again, I'm really trying to figure out who she's going to be ultimately. Is she going to be good for us or bad for us? But Becca, her face is tense ever since we met her. And in this episode, to start giving us answers I did not want. Her father, again, like I said, and I'm wondering if that shapes who she is and how she's interacting. But through her body language, her silences, and finally her own words, she admits she does not want to get married. And so as soon, this is Agnes's big day. She's gotten to ring the bell at school. And she's like, and I don't want you to either. And I'm like, at this point, do you like coochie? Is that what it is? Or I'm leaning towards that could be part of it, but also I think her father's been abusing her. I think her daddy's been messing with her. And and I cannot. And so we finally feel like, that's where she's at, and that's why she has this constant scowl. But I fear there's more to it. I really want to understand Becca more, but I don't know. Is she in love with Agnes? Y'all let me know in the comments. Now Daisy is hard at work being a spy with invisible ink. She signed up for this mission and is fully committed, but why? And we find out some answers in episode 3. Simultaneously, we're back in Gilead and the girls are going on a field trip. And she's like, okay, cool. Daisy gets to go on the field trip. They're supposed to be visiting a girl, Penny, and Commander Judd. And they're on the bus and it all of a sudden gets taken out, like attacked. Pop, 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 pop. The girls are down on the ground, but I was really hoping Mother Superior got popped, but she didn't, unfortunately. So anyway, they're all struggling to survive. The guardian Garth gets them all into this little house, while they wait until everything has done. Now, I think this was probably the most uncomfortable, outside of the dentist rubbing her down, the most uncomfortable moment in the first couple of episodes is when Agnes has to go into her father in front of all of his compatriots and get down on her knees and say, I'm a good girl, daddy. Like he blessed Leah and Rachel, he's also blessed me. Sick. This whole demonstration was sick. And you see the old men and they're like, touching their pins and just drooling at the mouth. It's so vile and disgusting. Episode 3, Daisy, California Dreamin'. California dreaming on such a winter's day. Listen, and we get basically Daisy's full backstory. And so we find out that in Toronto, Canada, she was just living her life as like a teenager and, with parents, and they owned a vintage store. And, she's met a boy and she's in love with him. And mama's like, do we need to take you to the people? Dad is like, you want me like, what we doing? Y'all getting serious now, right? You starting to have sex? Do we need to go to the doctor and get you an appointment? She's like, no, of course not. We see her with boyfriend later and it's like, yeah, they're getting bucky naked. So we're going through the episode and seeing how she lives her daily life. And again, she's out with her boyfriend, just having a great time. And we see that she's coming home that night later on to find the vintage shop all shot up and both of her parents laid down dead in the floor. And she just can't even wrap her head around it. And so the people from social services say, come on to the hospital. We need to meet with you. Sit right here. Let me bring you something to drink, whatever. Next thing we see, June's ass again. I said, Elizabeth, how much are you going to be over here? I'm not mad at it. It brings me back to Handmaid's Tale. But she's like, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here now, Daisy, because nothing's as it seems. So she absconds with Daisy. Don't drink that. Sit that down. And they go, whatever, to a hotel. And June's like, yeah, your old life is done. Don't talk to that boyfriend. You don't need to call anybody. You don't need to talk to anybody. Just chill out and we'll discuss it later. Just, you got a lot to deal with right now. And I'm so sorry for your loss and all that. But what does Daisy do? She sneaks out. She goes and sees her boy toy, explains everything to him. And he's like, let me get my parents. We need to call the police. And I'm like, the boyfriend's the ops. In my opinion, she soon figures out, I can't stay here. June was absolutely right. She runs down the street. And of course, June's there waiting for her because June is a super spy. I don't know what else to tell you. And she says, I'm sorry, but this is what it is. Now time to go and see Commander Judd and Penny's house for lunch. And we get to see the house. She's got morning sickness, so Penny may or may not be pregnant. But we're all sitting at the table and the commander says, yeah, and Daisy, how'd you get here? What's your story? I came here because I want to be in Gilead, but also I have nothing to go back to now. And he says, Mayday's just jealous of us over here in Gilead because we've got clean water and fresh air, and you now have a home here forever. Now, Judd, some people were saying he looks exactly like Fred. He's got Fred's mannerisms, but I don't know. I'm holding out hope that Judd is good, but y'all drop it in the comments and let me know what you think of this commander. We see him in the super trailer. I don't know. I think he could be good. I don't know. I'm crossing my fingers, but you guys drop it in the comments and let me know. Now we go back and we actually finally see June and Daisy sit down and have this full talk. And we find out that Daisy was born in Gilead and that the hit on her parents was actually to get her back because they feel like she belongs to Gilead, but the parents fought to get her out. Now, again, it would make sense if it was Nick and June's baby, Nicole. However, the timeline just doesn't work. This is 4 years after the events of Handmaid's Tale. That baby is still very much a young child, nowhere near the age of Daisy. But we find out that they've had her since she was a baby. They loved her, they raised her, and for all intents and purposes, those were your parents. And you have some choices to make now, but Mayday is the organization. And you're never alone because you have Mayday. June gets her raggedy duffel bag, walks from the table, and of course, now we see Daisy is in Gilead. So she took this choice. She took this on, back at the damn, commander's house as they're leaving. Daisy talks to Garth, the guardian. Now, Garth has his eyes on Agnes. Agnes has her eyes on Garth. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that. But Daisy's like, there's an understanding. Garth is Mayday as well. So what's going on? I need to talk to June. He says, who's June? She's like, damn it, I'm stuck. Damn it, I'm stuck. And I'm stuck as well because I don't know. I don't know where we're going. Garth seems very passionate. He seems very on the money. But I don't know what Agnes is going to think about Daisy being alone with Garth on that bus, what that's going to look like, and how long he's going to last. Damn it. I want him to last, though. I do. I want them to last. But again, overall, Sweet Peas, 3 episodes in, and the Testaments is excellent. Full 10 out of 10. I think in terms of storytelling, like I said, it can be really hard to be a sequel and come up. But I think this captures just enough of everything that we need to be enthralled into this world. I think the characters are great. The acting is great. The writing is great. It's immersing us in this world all over again, but with a completely different point of view. And I love that for all of us. Drop it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Who are you more attached to right now, Daisy or Agnes? Whose story are you most invested in? Again, new episodes every Wednesday on Hulu through May 27th. Subscribe, hit the hype button, like, comment. I will be here all 10 episodes, y'all. So come through. Love y'all bunches, and I will see you in the next video.